Welcome everyone to Sasquatch Theory. This video is a very important one because it marks the beginning of a series of Sasquatch encounters that are all tied in together. I get in contact with a man named Adam who tells me he has had a lot of Sasquatch activity take place on his family's property along with his surrounding neighbors. Most of the time you can rarely get someone to talk about the subject, but in this case, I was able to interview everyone on the entire block. And let me tell you, it's a lot of good people with very intriguing Bigfoot encounters along with their evidence they have gathered. I will be releasing these interviews and segments throughout time since it's so much data and footage to release all at once. You will find the full videos and behind the scenes footage on the membership page. Be sure to check it out, guys. When Adam first emailed me, I read what he had to say. I will admit it gave me chills because it's right down the road from where I've been doing research at my friend Bill's place in the Mark Twain National Forest. This is the area that I've been running audio and doing research in, and we have already caught a lot of weird vocalizations and possible Sasquatch sounds. Adam explained the vocalizations that he has heard, and it all lines up with what we have all been hearing ourselves right down the road. Join me as I travel down to southeast Missouri to interview a group of friends and family who want to share and talk about their Sasquatch and cryptid encounters from the Mark Twain National Forest.
Ground. I'm 6 foot tall, and I'm about a foot higher than those face prints. Because it steps down where they get the hillside cut out.
That's a good face print.
So there's the first one, the bigger one of the two. Mm-hmm. The one on the left is actually small, so it's got to be maybe a couple years old. It's got to be a young Sasquatch.
That's him peeking through the greenhouse.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, look, yeah, side by side.
You can see the little hair follicles.
Looks funny. They both be up there like
well, we tried to debunk that. Like, we've touched it and rubbed all over it. To try to get our grease to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It doesn't do that.
Yeah, it seems like their hands are real oily.
They've got to be really greasy.
This is out here in the backyard.
So you're inside this one?
Yeah. Like, you know where I stood the last time I was here? I stood over there.
Face. Looks like a face.
What?
Like the lip, eyebrows,
You see where
shoulder,
yeah.
imprint.
Oh, they're trying to get out. Look, this is a hand that's done this.
The side of that greenhouse rolls up, so you got to open the door to get in. So they had to have been rolling the side up to get in there. So I'm thinking that when they was trying to get out, that's when they touched the side of that.
Yeah.
You're going up underneath it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Little
In the
boogers.
summertime, it rolls the sides up so that the air can travel through there.
Yeah.
At night, it rolls it down so the deer can't get in there. Let's see. Oh, yeah, here we go. So that cauliflower was laying on that grave.
Huh. It looks like some rocks are missing. And look, you can tell it's fresh. Yeah, it's fresh. Crisp. Yeah, it's still crisp, and the back of it's still dry.
Mm.
Well, did you get a cauliflower at the greenhouse and lay it on there?
Mm-hmm. On one of Kyle, did one of his cats pass?
Yeah, he's an animal lover.
Yeah.
Hardcore. I mean, like I said, if one of his cats dies, he gives him a grave and everything.
I'm sitting on the cat just recently passed. They just made that grave. The cauliflower sitting on top of it.
Oh, wow. So it was like showing respect for
Showing respect for it, yeah.
Yeah.
His cat, that was one of Kyle's like favorite cats. Mm-hmm. He was really upset about it. It went missing for like a week, and then they finally found it in the bushes. I started smoking my cigarette. Like 2 seconds later, I hear a scream over at the other trailer right across. And the weird thing about it is we hear different screams all the time. Well, this scream sounded exactly like his younger brother's scream. Like, it mimicked it to the T.
Yeah.
I got the chills. I ran inside. I was like, Adam, it's over there.
She locked the door
it's over there.
behind her.
Like, but I wanted him to go out there and notice it, but I didn't realize what I was doing. And I was like, it's over there, it's over there, it's over there. He grabbed the GoPro, walked out, and you could hear, like, the last second of the scream. And I kid you not, it sounded just like him. And Shelby's a prankster. But I knew it wasn't him because there was only one way in and one way out of that house. Mm-hmm. And it just it freaked me out. It sounded just like him. Like, I would have bet money on it that it was him. It was crazy.
I bet they're watching out there all the time.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
All the time.
Shelby's front door's open on the house. You can hear the kids inside playing.
Mm-hmm.
Shelby's standing behind me on the corner of the house on the phone. And this is coming west towards Ironton.
What it is. That's in your yard?
It was in my brother's front yard there.
There it is.
In the front yard, and there's been some incidents in the front yard, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
See, Grandma bought that property in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And she's had a lot of stuff happen out there. And I'm pretty sure most of the stuff that she did tell us was stuff that was suitable for kids. Because she
Mm-hmm.
Well, what about the time that it was raining?
Oh, yeah. So, it was thunderstorming one night, and she was home alone. And if you look at her front yard, you can see where the asphalt goes up the hill. And it was lightning like crazy, and she's watching out the window, and she sees somebody walking down the road, and it looked like he was wearing a tuxedo. She said, somebody must have broke down and needs to use the phone. So this thing's coming down there, and she said, man, that guy is really tall. She could only see it when the lightning would go off. So the next time the light go off, be a little closer.
Isn't that terrifying?
She said it was walking down the road, went around the curve, and then stopped. And she was looking at it, starting to get a little like, that's a really big person. I don't know if that's a person. And the lightning went off, and it turned and it looked at her, and seen her looking at it through the window. Started walking towards the house, and it's just a white picket fence, or had.
Yeah, it stood about like this high.
Well, yeah. It took one step over that fence. And she closed the curtain, and that freaked her out bad. And every window in the house had 2 or 3 curtains on it. And she had a bed frame above, so like her bed, the head of her bed was up against the biggest window in the house. She had a bed frame that went almost to the ceiling. It was like gel bars. So
she could cover that window.
It was scary. She was too scared to stay there. For like the last 4 or 5 years that she stayed in that house, she always went up to Roy's because she was too scared to stay in that house alone.
So every time like the lightning would strike, like the Squatch would be closer and closer.
Yeah, it was a little closer.
Oh my
She'd
gosh.
just get a look at
It's
it.
like
It
a
was
horror
lightning.
flick movie, man.
It is.
In camera.
Oh, yeah.
Let me take a step back here. So, let me tell you about the death whistle.
Mm-hmm.
So I get that thing, and my brother is not okay with paranormal stuff. And I get this Aztec death whistle, and I wasn't going to tell them. I was going to wait till the next time we went out, and I was going to hey, check out this thing. And I was just going to start laying on it.
That way everyone starts freaking out.
And watch the anxiety just take over. It was going to be like a prank for me, but a cool tool to use.
Yeah.
So I'm at the house, and I'm blowing on it. I'm like, this thing's freaking awesome. And it wasn't 20 minutes, and Shelby mentioned me, here's some weird shit going on over here. I said, what do you mean? He's like, I smell skunk. Sabrina went outside to smoke a cigarette and heard someone take off running. So she thought somebody was in the yard messing with the trailer, trying to get in an enclosed trailer. Mm-hmm. She runs back inside and tells Shelby. Shelby goes outside with his gun, and he's sitting there. He says, I got a gun, and I will use it. and something else took off running, and he could hear it running down through there. And when it got across the river, it started screaming, and it sounded like he said to the T, it sounded like a person, like a man was being murdered as it run from his house. He could hear it till it was clear over to Blue Mountain.
I wonder what they're saying when they do that.
He's got a gun.
Yeah.
Brian, he's got a gun.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah, basically.
So the next day, he's like, it had to have run past your game camera. We got to go down there and check your game camera. Because we had corn and we had a game camera set up so we could look at the deer. I don't know what happened to the SD card or what happened to the game camera, but I cannot get any game cameras to work properly on his property.
Yeah.
So this game camera...
It worked perfect.
Well, that day we went down there to get that. This is when we heard. This was the next day we heard those vocals. So at the end of this video, we're on the hood of my Jeep going through the SD card.
Come over here and check the game camera, which got destroyed.
So that's all it picked up. That's all it was on all the videos.
Yeah. I've had memory cards with that out of game cameras before.
Yeah, my cameras have done that too.
So this is the one video I found something on there. And I don't know if it's a deer or what it is, but you can see something walk up right here.
Oh, yeah.
Play that again.
Hang on, you'll see it real clear in a second.
They're walking upright, too.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I see it.
It goes over this way.
Oh, boy.
I don't know if that's a light or eye shine that's picking up.
You'll have to send me that later.
Looks down, goes that way. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is cool.
4:37 a.m. in the morning.
So, where did all this begin for you? What was the first incident that you've ever experienced?
So, the first time I thought I seen something was at Mom and Dad's old house where I grew up. We had some dogs on runners because we lived too close to the road to let them just run free. We had to bury a lot of dogs because of getting hit on the road. So it was dark, it was late. The dogs had already been fed and watered. And the dogs were going crazy. And I had a dog named Copper, and he was on a runner. He was a big beagle. And he was just losing his mind. And I opened up the door, which at that house, if you opened up the front door, you could see our Labrador was also on a runner. He had a really long runner. And then down across to there about 50 yards out, another, that's where Copper was. He was on a runner there. And I opened up the door, and I just remember seeing this. I didn't notice it at first. It was just a big black spot, and there was a white smudge, and the dog was in his house losing his mind, just barking. And I'm just sitting there looking, and then I noticed that big black blob is moving east. It was moving east towards town, and I think that white spot on it might have been the face. And that spooked me, but like I said, I couldn't really see what it was, just that big black mass. And it moved in between my vision of the dog's house and me, so I watched it walk in front of that dog house going down through there. It was pretty dark in that area. We had a dusk to dawn light that would kind of light it up, but right on the edge of needing a flashlight. I seen that, and I was probably 15 when I seen that. And that kind of, it really scared me, really. I made all my hair stand up, didn't know what I seen. I went to the corner and thought, I hope my brothers have to feed the dogs tomorrow and the rest of the week or the rest of my life. I did not want to go out there no more. And it was a long time before I had seen anything else. I was 22 years old. And no, I was 21. And me and my buddy Cody, which he was a neighbor at the time, we lived a little over a quarter mile from each other.
he had a Honda Civic. We was into the car scene, and I had a BMW. And we was always messing with our cars, and if we weren't doing that, we were playing video games. He was dating a girl at the time, and he drove his Honda to town. He just got the car, just got it legal. So he calls me and says, "Hey, my car's out of oil. What should I do?" "Well, put oil in it, Cody. Put some oil in the motor." He said, "Well, I don't have any money." It's like, well, either park it and get a ride home, or I don't know, man. I don't know if I'd drive that car home. He ended up getting like 1 quart of oil from his brother on the way home. And it was still so low in oil that his brother followed him just to make sure that he made it home. And he said he was driving the car and he was taking it really easy. He was only doing about 30 mile an hour, trying to not blow his motor up. And he said he seen something standing on the side of the road, and it had red eyes. And that scared him, and he was half a mile from the house, if that, and he floors it trying to get to the house. And when he did, he threw a rod in the motor and blew his motor up, and it had no oil in it. Well, he coasts in his driveway. His brother turns around, goes home, and he sees him pulling the driveway. His brother never seen it, and he was a couple car lengths behind him, never seen it. So Cody calls me. He says, "Hey, motor blew up in my car. Can you help me push it up to the garage?" "Yeah, I'll be over there in a minute." So I go over there, and I think what it was is he was too scared to push that car up there by himself, because he could see where he seen it from his front driveway. So I go over there, and we push the car up there. The motor's trash. Just got a rod hanging out of the side of it. And he proceeds to tell me, he's like, "Man, he tells me about the red eyes he's seen, and he found out that the girl he was dating was pregnant. He had got her pregnant, which wasn't a bad thing. He was just, he was younger than me. He was 19 or 18 at the time. He was younger than I was, and he was worried to death, But he found out she was pregnant, and it scared him. He got him worried. So his car's broke down, and he seen them red eyes, and me being the friend I am, I kind of pinched and poked, yeah, don't red eyes get you. Because he would walk from his house to my house down the middle of the highway. And sometimes it would be dark. But Cody was brave. He wasn't really scared of anything. And there had been a time where I had actually knew he was coming over, and I would go meet him halfway and jump out and scare him, or attempt to scare him. He never really jumped. I'd run, blah, 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 he just like, nice try. Well, there was a night that we were going to play one of the new Call of Duties, and he was walking over to my house. His car was blown up. I could have went and got him, but I don't know, big deal. I just walked to Adam's house. He calls me. He's about halfway to my house. Maybe closer to his house. I could take you to the spot and show you where this happened. He calls me. He says, nice try. It's not funny. You can come out now. And at that house, you only got service in one spot. You had to put your phone up in the window jamb by the front door. And I said, man, I'm at the house. He said, I seen you. It's not funny. Quit messing around. Come on out. I said, Cody, I'm at the house. What are you talking about? I said, can't you hear the front door? And I opened the door and shut it. And he could hear my brother Shelby in the background. What's the matter? And he got dead silent. I said, Cody, what's the matter? He said, come get me. Come get me right now. All right, calm down. I'll come get you. And about that time, he started screaming like Bloody Mary. And that scared me because Cody isn't scared of anything. So I run out there and I hop in my dad's truck. I stole it. It was the closest vehicle to me. And when you watch a scary movie and you think, well, why didn't you run downstairs or run out the front door? Why'd you run upstairs? Why didn't you grab a gun? Why didn't you do this? When you hear that, the first thing that comes to your mind is go now, get him. And I never grabbed a gun, a camera, or nothing like that. I thought, the way he was screaming, I thought something had hold of him. Mountain lion, bear, person, I didn't know. But the way he was screaming, I was going to help him, and I was going to use nothing but my bare hands to help him. He had almost run that entire distance by the time I got to him. And he was choked up, teared up. The truck had a bench seat in it. I didn't even have the truck stopped when he was opening the door when I pulled up. And it had a bench seat and it was a manual. And he sat next to me because he was too scared to be by the window. He says, right there, it's right there, it's got to be right there. And then I couldn't see nothing. I even went up the road and he was telling me, no, let's just go, it's right there. He thought whatever was chasing him was going to come through that window and grab him. I get him back to the house and I get him calmed down and get him to tell me what happened. He said, I thought he was messing with me. He said, something was down there in the woods following me and I thought it was you. And he said, it got up to me. And when you said, I'm at the house and I heard your door, he said, I took my phone and was shining the phone screen. And he said, I could see slightly illuminated red eyes right there off the side of the road. And he said, I could see it kind of hunched over like in a prounce, like it was like in a stalk, like a pre-lunge look to it. And he said he turned around and took off running, which was probably one of the biggest mistakes he ever made. It's when you see a predator, you don't run. Or at least don't let it see you run. So he said he was running. He's running down the road, and he said he could hear this thing in the ditch line, in the leaves. And he could hear his feet pump, 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 pump. And he said run right up to him, and he'd get right on him and stop. And he said he would get a little bit of distance on it, pump, 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 and it would stop. He said did that 4 times, and every time that it did that, he thought he was dead. He thought it had got him. He could hear it coming. And he said the feet would sound like it would start up. You know, like pump, 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 and get right to him and stop. And that's what worried me is how scared he was. So my part of the story, what I've seen is, you know, when he first seen it, he found out that the girl he was dating was pregnant. So 9 months later, they're at the hospital. They're having their firstborn, Bella. And him and his family lived in that house, and they were all at the hospital. And his mom had been dating a guy, and they had split up, and all of his stuff was at her house. He wasn't allowed to come get it until she had got back from the hospital. His mother called me. Her name was Tony. She called me. Hey, would you mind to go over and check on the house and make sure that Darren, I think his name was, hadn't tried to get in the house to get his stuff. Sure, you know, I'm right down the road. I'll go down there. So I hop in Dad's truck. It was a GMC 3500. Had a hopped up 355 small block in it. Had the 4-speed transmission. Really loud exhaust. Big old tires under it. You could hear a truck coming from a long ways away. So I go down there, and you pull in the driveway, and it goes up, and it's a circle driveway. For whatever reason, we never used a circle driveway. We'd always pull up in front of the door, back out, and go right back out the way we come in. So I pull in there, headlights are on bright, and you can see the right side of the front yard, which is open, the left side, which is open, like 2 little small fields. There's a tree line behind the house. I don't see nothing. I pull in. The guy that she was dating, his race car was still sitting there in the trailer. The porch light was on. I pull up. Everything looked. I almost got out of the truck, and I'm glad I didn't. I put the truck in reverse, and when I looked in the rearview mirror, I seen what I thought was motorcycle tail lights. They were red. 2 red dots, you know, and I thought, the hell is that, a motorcycle? And it was moving. What the hell? And I'm looking at it in the rearview mirror because Dad had really good backup lights on that thing. They were LED. And it was coming to the truck. And that's when I started to get that sinky void. Holy crap, you know. I felt the blood leave my face. I mean, I felt my body go pale. And just total shock that was not a motorcycle and it was an animal. And as much as I've been in the woods, I've never seen an animal with red eyes that was that big. Mm-hmm. These small animals, like rodents and owls, they have red eyes. And when it got to the truck where I could almost see what it was, it stopped and it bobbed its head from left to right like an animal does when it's calculating. Mm-hmm. I tore Tony's yard all to hell because I wasn't backing up another inch. That truck was a 4-speed and I hit 5th gear. I mean, I was banging gears all the way across her yard. I had to go back when I got back from the hospital and fix the ruts that I left. I don't know of any animal that would have run up to a truck that was that loud. Whatever it was not afraid of that truck. Yeah. And that was the first time that I had seen something that what I could not explain that was enough to scare me bad enough to make me feel like I felt the blood leave my face. You know, it scared me that bad.
Yeah. When did all this begin? When did you first notice the Sasquatch activity?
Okay, the first time, no, I never believed in Bigfoot whatsoever. Like, I was like, oh, you're crazy. It's a make-believe. People are dressed in costumes. I did theater my whole life. Right. I was around that kind of aspect all the time. So I was like, you're crazy. I was like, okay, you believe, and I'll believe what I believe. And then we had a dog. It was a little puppy. I was potty training it. We also had dogs outside that would bark to a snap of a twig. Could be a squirrel, nothing, just a limb fall because of the wind. They'll go crazy. Well, one day I was letting I took my puppy outside in the front yard. I mean, it was like 5 feet from the front door. I wasn't going far. Terrified of the dark, not going far. And so I was letting him go to the bathroom, sniff around, and I felt this eerie presence. Like I just felt, okay, someone's watching me. You know, it was a weird feeling, weirdest feeling ever. And then I looked to my left, and at our house we have this ledge that walks down to our front porch. So it stands about 3 feet off the ground. Mm-hmm. And I look up and I see a silhouette halfway down of an arm and a body. Couldn't really see a head. There was a little bit of this. And I look and I glance back and I'm like, what did I just look at? And then I hear her walking away. We have gravel right next to our house. So when I heard it walk away, dogs completely silent. Mm-hmm. Like nothing. And I just sat there and I was like, all right, we're time to go inside. Like, and I walked inside and I just stood there and I was just like, I didn't have the urge to go look at it. I was just like, I'm just gonna get away from this because this is creepy. And I just stood there by the front door and I was like, that was weird. Mm-hmm. And then I ran up to Adam. I told him what was going on. And he's like, yep, he's around. I told you, I'm not crazy. I was right, you know how guys like to say I'm right for the first time, But and then I started hearing screams. And, you're like, oh, it's a bobcat, it's this, it's that. These are like screams that I've never heard before, where you're like, that's nothing that could be anything. Yeah. Adam would be on the back porch, Brady, come listen to this. And I run outside the back porch and I hear it and I'm like, oh, all right, here, stand up. You're just like, what is this? Mm-hmm. What is this? And then we started to investigate more and he was already into all that stuff. I wasn't, he was aware. He had experience himself before I did. So I was just like, yeah, this is something, this is real. Like all these years that I believe it wasn't, it's a weird feeling going from a non-believer to a believer. Right. It's just like a flip in the books. And then, so another experience I had was, we were on our way. I was coming in from town off a back road and I was driving down and I had a friend with me and we were heading back to her house where Adam and Josh were. And we went up this little bit of this hill and there was a telephone pole. There was a little sign that had like water line so no one knew to dig it up. And I seen a silhouette. Again, I always see half of them. So it was just half. And then a car passes me and I look again and I have my brights on. And all I see is black, like it's just a black blur, but I could see what it was. His arm went up, turned, and it was gone. So we're like 500 yards from the house. So I am speeding. I get there and I yell at the guys, I seen it. It's at the pole with the blue sign. It's at the pole with the blue sign. That way they knew what they were looking for. So they take off. I'm trying to compose myself. I got the kids. I'm freaking out. I'm trying to stay calm so the kids don't freak out. They're little. I don't want them to be like, bah. And they come back and they said, we looked everywhere. There's no blue sign. They went all the way up the road. The sign was gone. It was gone. They couldn't find it. I was like, no, it was right there. So we leave. And I'm like, okay, I'll show you where the sign is. You know, I'll point it out to you because we're going back the same way I came in. And we go up there and I look and I see the sign's gone. That's why you missed it, is because the sign's not there anymore. And then I would say a couple months later, Adam and Josh go wandering out in the woods. They're going to go searching. I think they were looking for a deer spot. And at this random spot in the middle of the woods that were behind Josh's house, there is a post with the water sign on it. And he's like, you're never going to believe what I just found. I was like, that is nuts.
Yeah.
So it was like he realized that I was going to use that as a pinpoint. Because that was the only thing I could do, was the pinpoint was that. And he just took it and ran off with it.
Yeah, that's wild.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that is. And the fact that you guys found it later
and they
on.
found it later, like deep in the woods. Just deep, like further than I would expect. So he was like, I'm going to get rid of this, you know, and just threw it.
Yeah.
It was nuts. And then the recent experience that I had is I was getting ready to walk outside on our back porch. I was going to smoke a cigarette, and I walk out there, and we have a gazebo right by our backyard. And the gazebo stands about, I would say the railings stand about 3 feet off the ground on the top of it. And I see something big and black. And it was walking away from it. It was coming back from our gazebo and walking to the river. Now, the river's just as close as this one is here to our house. So it was walking towards the river. And I run inside. I can't really see it, but I see that it's big. And I see it walk away. And the shoulders on this thing was... you can ask Adam, I can't stop talking about the shoulder blades. You could see the shoulder blades just go. It was kind of like a cat, but there was no way it was a cat. It was too big to be a cat. I've worked around lions. I've worked with tigers. I volunteered to work at a tiger sanctuary. I know cats. I know them. You know, like I know their traits and everything. But the shoulders, the way that the shoulders were, you could just see the blades go up and down and up and down. And it just walks sideways, but I never got a face. But it was all on all four. And it was just walking. It was probably as big as, it was bigger than Adam. I know it was. Because I had him go down. He's like, well, where'd you see it? And I said, it was right there. So he goes down, he gets on all fours, you know, with his legs straight and everything. I said, it was bigger than you. And then I remember going out there and seeing it. And I was running through the house. I need a flashlight. I need a flashlight. I talk really fast. People have a hard time understanding me, especially his dad. So I'm running around going, where's Adam's flashlight? Where's Adam's flashlight? And he's like, what is going on? I'm like, I need a flashlight. By the time I got the flashlight, it was gone. Yeah. No tracks. It was muddy. No tracks. Weird.
Yeah. Yeah, that is.
And then, I mean, we hear howls. We hear sounds. I mean, other than that, that's the only experiences that I've had.
Yeah. And the vocalizations that you guys hear, that's like human-like but animal-like at the same time.
Yeah, so there's been times where we hear screams of women, and everyone's like, oh, it's a bobcat, but it goes into Bigfoot scream. So like, ah, and we're like, and to me, I feel like that's them trying to get us out in the woods. Like someone's hurt, we need to go help them.
Yeah.
So we go out there, and we hear it all the time.
Yeah. It happened as soon as I got here yesterday. It sounded like a dog was getting ripped apart.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I was telling Bill that it seemed like maybe they were trying to lure me into the woods.
Right. You know, that's what I think that's human instinct, is when we hear something hurt, we have to go investigate. We have to see what's going on, you know.
This is one of my research I've actually got this story on video, but you can't see it because all I use is a GoPro 7.
Yeah.
But I got our reactions and everything on there. But one night, me and the guys got together, and we were gonna go in the woods, you know, look around, see if we could capture anything on video. So we go down here to what we call the Big Rocks. It's about halfway through the property. And we got down there and we're standing there, we're listening, we decided to turn off all of our lights. So we turn off all of our lights, the GoPros are still running. And my dad had a camper sitting there that had a floodlight on the side of it, and it was extremely bright for a floodlight. And we're down here pretty good ways. I'll show you. We call it the tractor tire. It's right there by the Big Rocks. We sit on that tire. And we're down there. All the lights are out, and we could see a light down there by the big rocks. But you had to stand just right to see it because the leaves had just started coming down or just started growing back up. I think it was spring. Yeah, leaves had just started growing back up.
Mm-hmm.
And you had to stand just right. So we're standing there, you know, or I am at least. I'm standing like, yeah, there's a light down there, man. You just got to, you know, bobbing around trying to get that perfect line of view of this light. Shelby and Josh couldn't see it, so Shelby's standing right here in front of me. So he stands there and yeah, I do see it. Yeah. And Josh, he stands there in front of where Shelby's standing. He's like, yeah, I see it. You know, you got to bob around, just get that perfect line through all the trees to see it.
Mm-hmm.
And our eyes had just started to get used to the dark. And that light on the camper shining all the way down through there. Shelby's looking back up towards the house. He's, what light is that? We're looking at it. I said, well, that's Dad's camper light. I said, man, that sucker's bright. And he holds his hand up, and you can see how lit up his hand was.
Mm-hmm.
Like, look at that. Look at that. That's bright. And about that time, his hand went dark. And at the same time his hand went dark, Josh said, yeah, but what's that moving in front of it? And I turned my attention up to the light, and I'm looking at it. And there's something that I could see from basically the chest up, doing the exact same thing that we just got doing. It was standing in front of that light, looking towards us, bobbing left and right, up and down. And I'm assuming that this thing was doing the same thing we were doing, trying to see our lights, but our lights were out. And we turned our lights back on, and I'd run up here trying to get a picture, a video of something. I was desperate. I ran up here trying to get a video, a picture, something. There wasn't a footprint one. This thing couldn't have been 10 feet from that camper because it looked like it was right in front of the light.
Mm-hmm.
And when you'd stand there underneath the light of that camper and hold your hand way up there, you could almost think about changing the light bulb.
Yeah.
You would have to have a step stool to take that cover off and change the light bulb. Mm-hmm. And this thing was tall enough that it was blocking out that light. I could see the shoulders. There was not really a neck, almost like someone had a hoodie on. And you could see the fuzziness in the hair. And it was doing the same thing that we were doing. And that was the last time I'd physically seen the big hairy guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we stood up here for a while. Actually, it was Shelby or Josh stood up here, and two of us walked down there and tried to debunk it. Like, we even went in the house and asked the girls if they had come out to the camper, if anybody had been to the camper. They would have had to stand on a picnic table to be as high as that light, but we tried to debunk that.
Yeah. Is this the area you have recorded the vocals and stuff?
All the vocals I've recorded except for one has been out right here.
Mm-hmm. Can you describe some of the unusual vocals that you
So, the one that I hear the most often is like and I'll send you the audio to it. It's like honestly, if I was to put it in a category, I would say like a siren witch like chant, you know.
Mm-hmm. The heck was that?
I don't know. But, you know, it's like a or
mm-hmm. Yeah. Like the Ohio man.
Yeah.
Very man-like, though.
Yeah, in a way. Sometimes it's higher pitched than other nights. Sometimes it's deep, almost like metal on metal. You know, but there's only a few houses right here, and only a couple of these guys up here got tractors. Let alone something heavy equipment where it sounds like metal on metal without grease. It's got that siren.
Yeah. One weird thing was that I wanted to make note on this video is when you first reached out to me, you told me the area, which is close to where I hang these recorders and do my research, and you mentioned that sometimes it sounds like they're mimicking a dog. They're out there barking like a dog, and I hadn't released the audio that I'd captured, and that's what that creature is doing, is mimicking like a beagle or some type of dog, trying to lure people out in the woods or other animals.
There'll be nights where you'll hear what you think at first is a dog, so you don't think a whole lot of it. But what it turns into is a different story.
Yeah.
Like, hey, it's not a dog. It goes to more like a huck instead of a wolf. You know, whoop, 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 until a honk, honk, you know. And it gets deeper and deeper. And I think we should go inside. Because most of that will come from down this area or over here. Now, those creepy howls that we started with come from this direction. Yeah. Which is upstream.
And do you theorize that possibly it's a family group moving through this area?
Absolutely.
Okay.
There's definitely more than one.
And what's this river behind you called?
This is Stouts Creek.
Oh, this is a creek?
Yep.
Wow.
So this is a creek. I don't know if you've ever seen the TV show or read the book Resurrection, but that is based off of this creek.
Tell us about it.
So I don't think it's based on a real story or anything like that, but it starts off with a boy that drowns in this creek and dies, and 20 some odd years later, the kid reappears in a rice field in China. It hasn't aged a bit. And that's all based off of Stouts Creek in Arcadia, Missouri.
Oh, wow. There's got to be some truth to it.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I swam in this creek a lot, and I call that the Fountain of Youth.
Yeah.
I'll see you guys in 20-something years.
I don't want to wake up like in the Caribbean or something.
Yeah, I'm not even telling anybody I'm here. So you hear these vocals that you almost don't even want to say it's, you know, Sasquatch related, because they sound human, wolf, and then you get that Bigfoot sound to it. Just god awful, and I'll send you the audio of that one where I caught the last end of it. But honestly, it sounds like a man. And then the coyotes. You always either hear something, and then you hear coyotes go crazy, or the coyotes will be going crazy, and then you'll hear something, and the coyotes will just shut up.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like, okay, it's got their attention. You'll hear whoops. I've heard those moan howls, real long Ohio-type howls out here. One night at the old house, I had come back from a friend's house. My buddy John was with me. Mom and Dad weren't home. Front door's locked, so we had to sit outside for 3 hours waiting on Mom and Dad to get home. And there was something doing the moan howl. You know, just forever it seemed like, and it was getting closer, and we were locked out of the house. It was not cool.
Yeah.
We almost left. And it quit, and we sat on that front porch just scared to death that this thing was going to get us.
Right.
But you'll hear the whoops, you'll hear them howls, you'll hear all kinds of different, I mean, there's one out here that I've heard. I have an audio of it. It's not a very good version of what it actually sounded like. It's watered down because it was, Dad recorded it in 2018 Dad recorded it in 2018 on an old Nokia cell phone out his bedroom window. And it sounds like laughter, but like a hyena sound to it.
Like the Joker or something,
yeah.
Yeah, somebody's got a video of that on the internet, and somebody, you know, in the video shooting off rounds.
That's the sound. That's it.
Yeah.
I downloaded that off of TikTok just so I could show people, like, look at the similarity here. And whatever was doing that night that Dad recorded, it's a couple minutes long, He ended up shutting his phone off, shutting the window, and he could still hear it from inside the house.
Yeah.
I always call it the velociturkey because it kind of had that turkey gobble.
Yeah. I call it a turkey
sound.
dog.
Yeah. And that would do that at his over there, which is my house now, but it used to do that once a week over there.
Yeah.
Mom and Dad.
It's weird
can
how
tell
they
you.
can sound so animal-like and then so human.
Oh,
It really messes with your brain. You're like, no, that's just an animal. And that's what they
You're
want
just
you to
out here
think.
frolicking, having a good old time. I'm going fishing. I'm going inside.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, there went that trip.
Yeah. So the red eyes have been seen around the area several times, huh?
Okay. My Aunt Kathy lives over here, Kathy, and she has a little red barn that she keeps your chickens in. Dogs are barking. She goes outside to investigate. Well, she goes out on the front porch to investigate and make sure nobody's stealing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And she gets her little flashlight out and she shines it over there. And right next to that barn, something roughly 8 foot tall with red eyes was standing beside that barn staring at her. The little silver car we passed as soon as we turned on this road, that was her leaving. So if I see her go back down there and I can catch her, I'll have her tell you that story.
Yeah, absolutely.
But Kyle and Jim have seen it with red eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I never knew what the red eye thing was. I didn't know if it was Sasquatch or something demonic, but whatever it was, I was afraid of.
Yeah.
I used to go out in the woods before the sun come up to hunt. I'd get out there an hour before sunset and get set up. I don't do that no more. The sun is up when I go outside.
Yeah.
I could have...
That's how I am. It's kind of ruined hunting for me. I didn't think it did in the beginning, but now it's like I don't go out in the mornings. Like I used to go out really early before the sun would come up. Now it's like I wait till the sun comes up.
You're like the biggest, baddest thing they ever stomped around in them woods to the smallest thing.
And I just convinced myself that I'm busy. I'm drinking coffee. I got to drink more coffee. You know what I mean?
I got it.
But I know what it really is.
My schedule is just too tight today.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
this place has got a lot of paranormal stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There's been strange lights in the sky, strange lights in the water.
Yeah. David Politis said that 3 things he's noticed in a lot of these areas is pine trees, water, and pink granite. And I'm like,
Check. I better be careful around here.
Yeah, basically. You got everything on the list. And everything the BFRO mentions as far as like resources, the food, the water, the habitat.
When that Skinwalker Ranch stuff came out, and I first heard about that probably 3 years ago. When I first heard about that, I was the YouTube channel Bedtime Stories. That was the first time I'd heard any of that stuff. I'm like, man, sounds like my grandma's house. Bigfoot, UFO lights, dog-like creatures. Like my grandpa, where the old house was, heard a baby crying. And down at the catfish holes where it was coming from. First thing comes to his mind, somebody's trespassing. I got the kids down there crying. I'm going to at least go down there and see who it is. So he goes down through there, and it's a pretty clear path. Back then it was really clear. You could almost drive a car to it. But since all the flooding, you almost need full drive to get through there. But so I was telling you about the little stream that comes from like Jim's house and comes in right here at the catfish hole. So Grandpa walks down there and he can hear this baby crying, and it's coming from across the creek. So he gets down there and he can hear it. It's right there. He can hear it and he's looking. So where is this? And he walks downstream and he can look straight up. The spring runs into the catfish hole, and there's this big black wolf, as he described it, big black wolf looking dog was making that baby sound, and it was jet black everywhere.
And that happened around here?
That happened right here.
Okay. Well, I talked to a buddy in Tennessee. He said that the dog man, they'll make baby crying sounds to lure people out in the woods. And you guys actually saw a black
My
canine
grandpa
creature.
did.
Yeah.
And the panthers?
Well, that kind of lines up with what I've heard.
Panthers they're out there. They're here. We had a panther in my front yard here about 2.5 months ago. Was seen twice on the same day in my front yard. They can't tell me there ain't a black cat out there. I know better. I've seen them.
There's other things other than dogman, like maybe it's what people call hellhounds, but they're just like these big dogs.
He said it was big.
Dogs. Yeah.
I mean, Grandpa
Maybe it's
passed
all the
away
same.
before I was born, but you know, that story has been passed down through generations, you know.
Yeah, it seems like when you got one, whether it's Bigfoot or UFOs, you got them all somewhere down the line.
There's been ghost stuff like the creepy red shed. It used to be what they thought was a female would walk down about 11:30 every night down here where everybody swims, and you could hear it jump in the water. Kabloosh.
Really?
Like, what is that? I see something walking down through there, and then kabloosh. Who just got in the water? That we'd all be camping out here, and the family would wait till about 11 o'clock, and everybody would get dead silent and wait for this thing. Wait to see if they could see it. Old man Gilbert was found dead right there.
What happened to him?
He didn't have not a drop of water in his lungs, so he didn't drown. And from my understanding, he was the property owner before Grandma bought this. He was a very close family friend.
You think these cryptid creatures had something to do with it, or something paranormal, something unknown? Is that kind of what came out of the situation?
I'm thinking like a David Paulides kind of thing.
Yeah.
Nobody knows. He only had 3 fingers on one hand. That's all I really knew about Gilbert.
I mean, that's pretty close to where we're standing at right now.
Mom has given me his full name before. I can't remember what it is. I'll have to ask her again. I've tried to find information about him on causes of death. We're going to have to dig into that a little bit more, but he was found right there in the water, dead without a drop of water in his lungs.
Yeah. And in this area of southeast Missouri, there's been a lot of missing people reports.
Very many.
Yeah, that's startling. Well, I mean, if you guys are seeing the creatures, hearing them, what else could it be? You know, if there's no answer to people, why they go missing, then there's no answer to what those sounds are and what people are seeing. I mean, there's got to be something happening hand in hand.
We always chalked it up as the ooga booga, which you could just, it could be a ghost, it could be a werewolf, it could be a Bigfoot, it could be an alien, a ooga booga, you know, it just sounds spooky. An ooga booga gonna get you.
Yeah. And you also, you've hunted around the Current River at an area that I've investigated before.
I sure have.
Yeah. That's big woods out there.
Oh, yeah. That's vast. You could get, I'm not going to say you get lost in there for days, because if you walk in one straight line long enough, you will cross another trail or road or fence. But that is very big down in there.
Yeah.
And you can just pull up in that place and get out and feel it in the air. Like there's something out here.
Yeah, hopefully we can get that family story.
With Tommy?
Yeah. That'd be cool.
You're going to love that one.
Cool, yeah.
Because Jim had always told me that story, and I think I'd lose my mind in that situation.
Right.
So they were in there. So my version is going to be a watered down version. You'll have to get it from Jim tomorrow, but or Tommy. Hopefully he comes up. But they killed a couple deer, had them hanging, field dressed them at the campsite. The gut pile was there. They'd heard some stuff. Think they got stuff thrown at them, and they had all got in the camper, freaked out. And these things were shaking the camper hard enough it almost turned it over. They were trying to turn it over.
Yeah.
They were up all night, freaked out, waiting for the sun to come up so they could get out of there. Right off of Trail 12. 15, sorry.
Trail 15, okay.
And I can't remember if it was Tommy or the other guy had just opened the door just enough to take a leak out. And had seen one over there chewing on the guts, one or two of them, and it freaked him out. And he slammed the door and he didn't have his private stuff put up.
Yeah.
Freaking out, kicking, screaming. I actually seen what was fucking with them all night.
Man, they like messing with campers out there on the Current River.
Kevin's been hunting down there like 28 years, and he was down that holler hunting. It got dark. He got in his truck and was coming back up to this campsite and seen two. One was shorter than the other. They both had red eyes, and that's what caught him. These big black, he said 8 foot. One was 8 foot, one was closer to 7 foot, and they both had red eyes. And they come around a corner, and they were like deer in a headlight. What the hell? And he slowed down, and then they walked into the woods. And he showed me where they walked in. That is thick. And you know where you'll see them spots that have been cleared off and it start to grow back and the pine trees are, and it's just so thick that you
I
couldn't
know what
walk
you're
through
talking
there.
about, yeah.
Right up through all them thorns and through all that. He said they just walked right through there like it was nothing.
Yeah.
And I bet those things have got some calf muscles on them hills in there. Because
I think they're more aggressive out there because they're not used to running into people as much.
Yeah.
And then when people do flood that area to like hunt and stuff, it makes them mad.
Well, there's a holler down there they call Sasquatch Holler.
Really?
And supposedly the group that hunts that quit hunting it because of all the stuff that they was having down there.
So we got a killing fields down there, Sasquatch Holler.
Yeah.
Wonder what
And
else is out
I
there.
mean, when I met Kevin for the first time, him and 10 people were sitting around his fire. We camped at another spot. Jim says, hey, let's go see my brother Kevin. So we run down the trail and we pull up Kevin's campsite there and walk up, and every one of them knew where Sasquatch Holler was.
Yeah.
So what is that road? You got Current River, the park there on the left, and you pass it. We were on the right side of that highway, so we weren't actually in the park. The trailer incident happened in the park.
Blue Springs
Yeah.
or something like that?
So we turned that gravel road and we was right there.
Okay.
And every one of them guys knew where Sasquatch Holler was.
Yeah, somebody recently called me and told me a story from that area. He said his son saw a white one peek out from behind a tree. It's like where you're describing, I guess there used to be like an old mill or something there, and there's like a big hill, big hill. Maybe that's what they call it.
There are big hills in
Yeah.
there.
But that's where he saw it at.
I was walking down there because I'd never scouted the place where we parked this year, and so I'll just follow these buck rubs and I'll go right down here. And I'm walking down through there, and I'm walking down for a long time. So I'm walking downhill, and I'm thinking, man, if I shoot one down here, it's going to be hell to drag it out. I walked a little further, and I wasn't even halfway down that hill. I finally got down to the bottom of that, and man, if I'd have killed one down there, I had to cook and eat it there because there was no way I was dragging a deer out of there. But I could see with all the elk and the deer are so thick in there and all the other wildlife that's in there, them things would have a smorgasbord.
Yeah.
You talk about the killing fields and the way they do it. Like I said, Tommy and them had them deer hung on field dress, but they never touched the deer carcasses. They touched the gut piles.
Yeah.
There's a lot of protein in the guts, from my understanding.
Yeah. Well, animals love that kind of stuff. Here's how we're going to figure out if it's the same Sasquatch group going from here to Bill's. We're going to let you guys know when we have activity, and you guys text us and let us know. If we have activity on the same nights,
Then they're two different groups.
Probably two different groups, yeah.
Well, conservation knows about the guys down there, the big guys down at Current River.
Oh, really?
Carter was telling me this. That
Oh, yeah,
the
he's investigated
conservation,
Trail 12.
the conservation guys, they call them pods. There's multiple pods in that area.
Squatch pods.
That's one the other day when I texted you, yeah, there's probably a couple pods there. I was trying to sound Sasquatch professional. Other people having this weird stuff going on.
Yeah.
I could be sitting on this front porch, 10 o'clock at night, smoking a cigarette, and hear something walk up to the house, turn your light on, and never see anything. Must be a small animal. Turn your light off, it get closer and louder, heavier. Turn your light on, stop moving, can't see nothing. It gets so loud to the point you're like, I'm going inside because you can't take it no more. Your heart's racing, hair standing up. It's the only thing that you can hear. You can't even hear yourself think, like, what is that? I've heard stuff walk on this side of the house. I've heard stuff walk on that side of the house.
Yeah. I think they'd like to be over there in that area. That's just nice and thick.
I think the property is a little cursed. That is the second house to burn here.
Oh,
And
yeah, that thing caught on
this
fire.
trailer here, when Grandma Gussie owned it, and that trailer got ruined by the flood. That one actually got pushed down in the woods.
You think there's a lot of Native American artifacts around here?
Absolutely. You know, little spirit boxes?
Mm-hmm.
Last time we were down there, I got it out and played with it. Shelby does not like the paranormal stuff. Don't mess that stuff around me. I don't like that stuff. I got it out. The only thing I could distinguish on there that might have been something was it said Native American.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, ooh.
Yeah.
Grandpa or Uncle Goyle used to talk about there being an Indian burial ground down in through here somewhere. That's the kind of stuff I don't like to pinch and poke at.
How much land do you have to look around through here? Is it just the lot, the camping lot?
We go all the way down to the bridge. You'll see the bridge here after a while.
Is there Mark Twain around? Well, I guess
pretty much everything
we're in
that
a
away.
conservation area.
Yeah, it's spotty going down through there. You look on Google Maps, you'll see Mark Twain stuff down through there.
Cool.
We heard the cattle going crazy yesterday.
Uh-huh.
When you said no luck over here on this side. I didn't want to say anything about it, but we heard the cattle. I don't know, it was like 10 o'clock to 9:30, somewhere around there. Brittany was on the phone with her mother, and it was on the back porch. That's the only place you get service. So she's looking at me, and I'm looking at her, and the hoot off started going crazy as the cattle were doing that. Never heard a cow do that, you know. You're like, this is cow was just losing his mind. Bull, heifer, whatever. And I heard the hoot owls doing that. What's going on over there? You know?
Yeah.
That'd have been on this side of my river.
You guys ever float that?
Oh yeah, that's fun. You want to do it in the springtime when it's just warm enough to get in the water because the water level's still high enough to do it.
Yeah.
That you can float all the way to silver mines from there. It's fun. When it rains real hard and the river gets up, you'll have the Whitewater Nationals where they'll be getting in, and they're like level 3 or class 3 or whatever they do it.
Yeah.
They get in, they float past my house, sometimes to the yard, depending on how high the river is.
Yeah. So what's some of the biggest stuff that your grandma has explained to you? And
so one of the scariest stories that Grandma ever told is when they still had this cabin before it burnt down. They had dogs that would bark at a car. If a car just drove past the house, they'd like lose their stuff. Marmaduke, he was a big dog, and one night they were eating dinner, and someone started beating on the front of the house of the cabin. And Grandpa went to go see who the hell that was, beating on the door like that, or close to the door like that. And he got about 4 steps in, it started at the back door. So he turns around, starts towards the back of the house. Same situation, back at the front of the house. And at this point, Grandma's got my mom and all of her siblings in the middle of the house. Because this thing is beating on the front of the house, the back of the house, the sides. It's going crazy. And Grandpa grabs his gun. He's standing in front of the house, just ready for whatever this is or whoever it is fixing to die. And everybody's screaming, freaking out. And Grandpa, the way Mom was telling me, Grandpa said, everybody shut up. And when everybody stopped and got quiet, it quit. And he said, look, the dogs are asleep. They never woke up throughout that entire situation. And like I said, a car drove past the house, they'd lose their stuff. They'd start barking, going crazy. Somebody'd pull up. You would know somebody was there before they even got to the house. Throughout the house shaking and all the beating and banging, everybody screaming, the dogs never woke up through any of it.
You think they refused to acknowledge it, or
they were
something
just out
paranormal?
Cold snoring?
Okay. Yeah.
Another time when that cabin was, the first house was still here, that campfire right there, everybody was outside. It was one of those weekends everybody was camping outside and had the fire. And Mom and all of her siblings were still young. They still had bedtimes. Grandma made everybody go to bed. Everybody was in the house. She come outside on the back porch. Somebody was sitting by the fire, an Indian style. She thought it was her youngest, my Uncle Joe, and she said, get your butt to bed. Joseph, get your butt to bed. And it just sat there. Grandma always got the mean switch when you didn't listen. So she was starting over and somebody's fixing to get a whooping. They're just sitting there not listening, still out there by the fire. She got about halfway and this thing stood up. It was about 8 foot tall. And she said its back had silver hair on its back when she could see the hair on its arms. She stopped when this thing stood up. It never turned around and looked at her. It just stood up. And she was staring at it. She turns around and runs back to the to the house, tells my grandpa there's something out there. He comes out, it's gone. She always called it the silver spaceman because it had that much silver hair on its back.
Yeah.
That was one. I told you about the lightning thunderstorm where she was home alone. There's a tractor coming down the road. But another time, Grandma was home alone, and it was thunderstorming real bad, and the lightning was going crazy. And it was so much lightning, she was looking out the front window. You know, she was sitting on the couch, you know, turning around backwards with the curtain pulled over, watching out the window. And she could see someone walking down the road, and she thought it was somebody with a tuxedo on. She thought that, hey, somebody must have broke down or something. You know, why were they walking in the middle of a thunderstorm? And she could only see this when the lightning would light up the area. You know, she could see it, and each time was a little closer. You know, see this big, tall person in a tuxedo walking down the road. And it got in front of the house is when she started realizing it might not be a person. And she said it stopped right there where that white picket fence is, and it turned and it looked at her, and when it did, it started walking towards her. And when it got to the picket fence, it took one step over that picket fence, and it's 3.5 foot tall right there, 3 foot. I couldn't step over that fence.
Yeah.
Freaked her out, shut her curtain, went to her room, locked herself in her room. She always had 2 or 3 curtains over each window. She didn't like ever looking in the window. Back at the cabin, when it was still around, it had that a bunk bed in the kids' room. And my cousin I can't remember his name. Okay, so cut that out. So my family was like, how could you forget your cousin Chris's name? So my cousin Chris had a disease where he couldn't walk. You know, as the years progressed, it got worse, and it was eventually the untimely death of him. But my cousin Chris wanted to sleep on the top bunk because he couldn't climb up there. So my grandpa Floyd put him up on the top bunk and the top of that window, 8 foot off the ground. Shuts the lights off, the kids in there sleeping, and my grandpa said he could hear Chris in there saying, Uncle Floyd, there's someone looking in my window. And Grandpa went in there and turned the light on. There ain't nobody looking in your window, Chris. It had to be 9 foot tall to see in that window. He shut the light up, and Uncle Floyd, please get me out of here. Somebody looking in my window. Please get me out of here. And Grandpa had to take him out of there because somebody was looking in his window. If somebody was, it had to have been 9 foot tall to be able to see in the window and be high enough to be at the top bunk of that bunk bed. Somebody looking in that window. Was Chris's mom and dad that had that camper incident here. They had the slide-in truck bed camper, and they had pulled up. She was in the back of the camper getting the bed ready. He was up there in the cab of the truck getting stuff out of the truck, unpacking, and the truck bounced real hard, and he thought she fell, and she thought that he had fallen, and they both she was running out of the camper, he run around the truck. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. What happened? You okay? They thought that one of the two had fallen. They was checking on each other. And about that time, they heard something running down through there like a bulldozer. They didn't camp here ever again. Something had leaned on the tailgate of that truck where the back door was in that camper and had let off that truck and made it jolt up like that. Scared the hell out of them.
Yeah.
They never camped here again.
Do you think there's some type of connection with the mines and the Sasquatch activity?
Possibility.
Like at the Current River, I mean, all the other places that I've been to around here, there's mines. But I mean, maybe because those resources are found in the middle of nowhere, you know, Mark Twain areas, but...
You've got the silver mines right downstream from here. If you cut a tree down or do any digging in the ground around here, you'll have more activity. So if they're underground doing stuff, I would see how that would kick up activity.
So you think if we camped here, cut down a few trees that are already fallen, you think they'd come in?
I do.
What's going on? Yeah.
So I was telling you about the house getting beat on. me and Josh were getting into that bushcrafting stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So we had our little survival bags, and we decided to go down past the big rocks and start setting up where we might do some bushcrafting, you know, kind of camp out overnight in our hammocks.
Yeah.
And we had taken little hand saws, cutting down some inch and a half little trees to make structures out of to sleep on or use for a table. And we did that. We ended up not staying all night because it ended up raining. So a couple of days go by and Grandma tells me, or well, actually Mom did, that Grandma was too scared to stay at the house because something was beating on the side of the house again. It's
Right.
Mom said it started again, is the way Mom put it.
So she's used to it coming back.
Yeah, so that's when Grandma would tell me, you need to come over here and sit at the house, honey, because something comes out of the tree line over there and it's got great big ears. You know, that's like, "Ah, Grandma, I love to help you, but if it's got great big ears, I ain't going to be hunting it."
Mm-hmm.
Uncle Bob camps out over here. Here 4 or 5 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
He was staying in his camper, and their dog had to go potty because the dog was up and was scratching at the front door. He thought, well, the dog has to go out or something. And he heard a loud thump and thought it was the dog. So he gets up, puts the little retractable runner leash on the dog, Buddy. Takes it outside, let do its business. And he's standing there, you know, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning. He's half asleep, letting the dog do its business. And something smacks the back of his camper, gets his attention. And again, sounds like a bulldozer, takes off running down through the woods. Mm-hmm. He didn't realize how far away that dog was from the camper because he took that runner leash, the locking ratchet leash, and threw that dog in the camper like that and run in there and shut the door and locked it up. That's what he said. That poor dog, I didn't realize it was that far away from the door when I tossed that dog, and that dog flew a pretty good ways, 25 feet. Yeah. Just getting in there. Uncle Bob's like me, you know, he's kind of scared of the dark. Mm. He ended up not staying all weekend. I think it was a Friday night, and he didn't stay Saturday night.
Oh, boy, yeah.
I think the handprints are still in the back of it, matter of fact.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know how the campers get that green moss from sitting underneath the tree? There's 2 clear spots at the fucking top of it where something had touched it or somebody had touched it.
Yeah. That's pretty tall.
Yeah. I couldn't do it. I'd have to 3 or 4 steps on a ladder to touch it.
Yeah. Well, they love this spot. That guy's over there digging as we speak.
Perfect.
Things work. It works.
Keep digging, buddy. I didn't get him to come over here and dig some of this trailer. Yeah, I didn't even think of that. Perfect.
Yeah. Get some Skinwalker Ranch stuff going on real quick.
Yeah, because Grandma was burning. She had a big old burn pile right there, and I rented a skid steer and we cleaned that up. And we went down yonder and we dug some holes and was burying trash that the floods have washed up over time, just cleaning it up. And that's when we started having a lot more activity after Grandma passed away. It seemed like Jim and Kyle, they didn't really have a whole lot happen over there until this past 2 years. And I said, Jim, that's pretty much when Grandma had passed away. That's when things started getting crazy around here again.
Yeah.
So
what everybody just heard, all this ties in with the next person we're going to interview, correct?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
All this ties in with them, yes.
Very cool.
And they're just half miles the crow flies.
I knew that more people would contact me throughout time because Bill's place is just so active. I mean, I arrive here, shut the door, you know, just got there, and then you hear something, or you know, something goes off.
See, Carter Bouchard come down here to check that out, and when he got down here, we sat in there in the kitchen for 5 hours, just exchanging stories, talking about stuff. He showed us some videos, I showed him some videos, and we planned on setting up. And he has some of them really expensive cameras that don't put out any electric frequency at all. Animals can't sense it.
Yeah.
So he goes out, he sets those up, and then we're getting lawn chairs out. I'm changing SD cards in my GoPro. He's getting stuff ready. Me and Jim had just sat down. Carter's walking up. We're over there, and this thing starts hollering. And Carter stops dead in his tracks and go, "What the hell is that?" Well, you're the Sasquatch expert. He says, "Somebody wants me right now." Okay. None of us got it. We were unprepared. We didn't get it on camera. We didn't get it on video. My brother caught the last end of it with the coyotes. Now, we're over there, and this thing sounds like it's 100 feet from the front door of Jim's house. Mm-hmm. Turns Shelby is over here and hears it. It was actually over there on the hill. And he said it was really loud here. So much vocal stuff happens here that when she used to smoke cigarettes, every time she'd go outside to smoke a cigarette, she'd take her iPhone and put it on record.
Yeah.
That's how much vocals happen here.
Oh, yeah. It seems like when I try to record it, nothing happens. As soon as I hit pause and do my thing, everything
Matter
happens.
of fact,
That's
that
how it
night
always works.
that she heard something run away, you can hear it run away because she actually had her phone on record. Mm-hmm. This is my enclosed trailer was sitting where that RV is. I had pulled it up in there where nobody could hook up to the tongue jack. So when that house caught on fire, my brother jumped to his 4Runner and tore that trailer all to hell trying to get it out of there because all my kids' Christmas was locked up in there.
Oh, man. Yeah.
You know, I hid it over here in my trailer. But there was something moping around that trailer that night. When she heard something take off running, it either took off running or came back, and when Shelby come out, said, I got a gun, it takes off running again. Mm-hmm. But he hears it cross the creek here, and he could hear it screaming. He said it sounded like a man was dying, and he heard it run plumb over Blue Mountain as it was running away.
Yeah.
And when people said, why didn't you take a video? Well, when you're standing there with a gun ready to catch a thief, and then that happens, the first thing you do is lock up. However, he got his phone out of his pocket that day he seen it over here. Mm. He's a lot quicker thinking than I am, because I'd have just been like, whoa.
Yeah. And
just would have been taking it in. Strange lights.
You've been seeing some strange lights?
I seen what I thought was a UFO.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually at a friend's house. It's across the highway. So where my driveway was, he's upstream of me. It was probably 2019. We was building racing lawnmowers, mm-hmm. and he needed a motor. He was just putting one together. So he run to Farmington, him and his wife Kelly, to get pulleys. And I didn't know that, so I grabbed the motor, I throw it in the back of the truck, I run over there to his house. I get there, he's not there. You know, I call him, he said, I'm over at Family Center getting some pulleys. I'll be home in about 30 minutes. He said, just hang out for a minute. Oh, okay. So I get there, I get out of the truck, set the motor down. His house is on a really steep hill, so I'm sitting on the back porch, and his dad had a really cool back porch. It's still there. It's got a bench, a bar table on it. It's got chairs and stuff. It's really neat. Mm-hmm. You can see the river. This was fall time. You can see the river perfectly. I'm sitting there on the back porch, waiting for Zach to get back. And I'm looking upstream, and I see these car headlights. I'm like, oh, man. I didn't know you could get to the river from up there. I'm going to have to go up there and go fishing. I got to check that out sometime. And it was coming down the river. I'm like, oh, never mind. It must be a gigging boat. Because it looked like just two lights coming down the river. And it took a while for them to get to me. When they got close enough that I started realizing they were anywhere between 3 and 10 foot in diameter. 2 lights side by side coming down the river. Looked like a gigging boat at first, or a set of car headlights. They were that yellow amberish color. They got, I don't know, 100 yards from me when I realized that they were not on the water. They were in the air, almost treetop level. I could see everything lit up underneath them. I could see the reflection in the water kind of behind it. And I could see the trees all around it and everything behind it lit up. They weren't bright enough that you couldn't look at them, but they were like looking at the moon. Mm-hmm. You know, it's not bright enough to hurt your eyes. So I'm looking at them, and I'm aliens is the first thing. So I start walking back towards the truck. I'm on edge. I'm ready to leave. I get within what I thought was safe distance of the truck. And Zach's dad had built an air compressor out of a 55-gallon barrel. It was cut in half. It was all welded up and had a pump and an electric motor. And every time he'd kick on, the belt would go, and they'd pump air up, build air pressure up. It would do that every 30 minutes and kick on. And these lights not making a single sound, never turned, just started going up. As I'm looking at it, they're going towards town, uphill. And they're above the treetop at this point. And I'm watching it go up. And about the time it got behind that little garage, that air compressor kicked on. And I lost my shit. I come completely unglued. I was like, oh, it scared the hell out of me. And it was, and I thought aliens had got me. So I get in the truck. I start back towards the house, and I couldn't see the lights anymore from the road. And I should have been able to see them from the road because it would have been a more clear shot of seeing it. I go home and run in the house. Mom, Dad, you gotta come out here. You wouldn't believe what I just seen. You will never believe it. That was the first time I had seen, without a doubt, like you see lights in the sky all the time here, but that was like there, in the moment, in the flesh. You can't convince me that it wasn't an orb or a UFO, two of them side by side. You'll never convince me otherwise. So, something like that happened here a couple of times. My brother had been camping here, and something had come down, was up there coming down, and the river's lit up, and he's thinking the same thing, gigging boat. So from time to time, guys put their boats in and they gig. This light's coming down. It's coming down at 5-10 mile an hour, and it gets right out here in the open, and I can see this ball of light. And it just bang, like it was a tracer round shot out of a gun. Pow, straight up in the air. Vanished that quick. Like the way he put it, like the light was outrunning your eyesight. Just pow, out into nothingness. Another time, Dad was camping his camper here. Thought that one of us had pulled up in the backyard and headlights come across his camper, and he got up and he opened the door to see who it was and walked around the camper. Nobody was here. So something in this backyard or on this river lit up the whole camper. Enough to think if somebody with car headlights had just pulled up beside it.
Right. Yeah.
So that's the alien stuff. Or orb, light, weird, strange light stuff.
Yeah.
Been a lot of paranormal stuff here. The ghost that would go down and jump in the water. Old man Gilbert's death that just come out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
There's one night everybody was sitting around the fire making fun of the ghost, and the fire just, good-sized bonfire just, boom, flames out.
Really?
Just out. Poof.
Yeah, that is unusual.
One night Grandma was laying in her bed, and some foggish smoke was coming up from underneath her bed at the foot of her bed, and she said it like formed up into a face. And she said it started hovering towards her and said, "Get out." And my grandma, she was tough and she had a backbone. She said, "Like hell, you go to hell." Yeah. And she said that thing, it made like a pop sound.
Yeah.
When it got to the foot of the bed.
Grandma's tough, man. Tough as nails.
Well, it's been 4 winters now, I think. She had tripped and fell on her front steps and broke her arm right here. Dang. She was going to get groceries. Broke her arm, broke the bone, needed surgery. Still went to town, still bought groceries.
She's like, give me my milk.
Waited a whole day to tell Mom, my arm hurts, I fell.
Yeah.
Her arm was completely broken.
Really?
She was that tough that her arm was broken, she didn't care. I'm going to get groceries.
Dude, like somebody else would be screaming in pain, you know?
I would.
What is it?
That big toe, 3-toed footprint.
Okay, so this is where you found the track at?
Shelby, my brother, did. So what the hell do you think this is?
Okay.
Had 3 toes. So my brother takes this picture of this 3-toed print. Kind of looks like it's skidded a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It's only got 3 toes. And we didn't know if it was actually something.
Yeah.
But when he took this picture and sent it to me, if you zoom in on the big toe, you can actually see dermal ridges.
Mm-hmm.
It had 3 or maybe 4 toes. It kind of looks like it's skidded.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, that's a good track there.
we didn't know if it could be just an animal or if there was something to it.
Right.
You know what Missouri's famous for? 3-toed prints.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's like the Boggy Creek story, where they were finding that 3-toe print.
I watched it this morning.
Did you? I was watching it last night.
Yeah, I watched it this morning.
That's wild. Well, this would be a good place to find some tracks. Real nice, sandy soil.
Oh, yeah. You just got to watch where you step. Deer prints.
Yeah.
See a lot of deer in here. See, that's where Sabrina seen one when she seen it standing there, and this is where Shelby seen his.
Here, let me mic you up. People are gonna be like, I can't hear him.
Do it again.
Yeah, do it again.
Is it working?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Mic check.
You are live.
Behind chair number 1. No, that's where Sabrina seen her standing there in that right there in that little holler.
Mm-hmm.
And Shelby seen his right here. And when he gets with us tonight, he'll do his interview and tell his part of it. He'll probably be able to tell a lot better than I can.
Okay.
But you got a bunch of leaves that have kind of fallen, but it's all sandy and rock through here.
Yeah, there's a lot of shells through here. So you think they're digging for clams out here?
I think so. You'll see a lot of that. You'll see smashed walnuts.
Mm-hmm.
You'll find rocks and then walnuts smashed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, you could hear that classic gravel just crunch, crunch, and stopped and was looking at it. Right? He's standing over there looking at it, and he just stopped, turned and looked at him.
Yeah.
And thinking it followed all the way around and just...
There's definitely a lot of deer tracks out here.
There's some big one in here.
Yeah.
This is kind of like our little family hiking trail down to the catfish hole. Never caught a catfish out there. It's just called the catfish hole.
Yeah. Well, we got to catch some catfish out of there.
So this is one of the sticks that I put apples on, and right here. So I tried to put them up at least high enough where the deer couldn't get to them, but they could still get to it.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we heard that thing run across the river that night right here.
And it just crashed through the area?
Well, that was when something run across the river, but that night that it crashed, that tree's down over here. So we're over there, and it's running down through here, making all kinds of racket. You see how that one there has been broken in half?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I turned it off. I like this damn thing. All right. So this tree coming across is one of the trees that got broke. You can see the other end of the break of the roots and stuff. We was coming out there and said, how the hell did that tree get across there?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. The thing was making all that racket. That's the only thing we could put together on it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where we were standing. That's our tree knocking device there. You can see where we've hit on the tree.
Yeah.
Shelby does that. He can swing it hard. But we were looking down through there at that light when we turned around. You could see the light up there and see it bobbing back and forth in front of that light. We was here the last time we come out here. We were set up right here when we heard that growl, and that was enough for Shelby and Josh to want to, let's go ahead and get out of here. And it rained its butt off that night.
Yeah.
And this is where that game camera footage was set right here.
You said it sounded like a lion?
First I thought cow, but it was like, bro. But it got that lionish sound to it.
Real deep and guttural.
All the cats that I've heard around these parts, you can hear them meow, meow, with a real big cat meow. I haven't been down in here since spring.
Yeah.
June, maybe it was June. Hey, look at all these trees right here snapped up. Now that one's bent completely around.
Yeah, that is unusual.
Hell, it's uprooted. If they're real close to the trail, it was more than likely me or Shelby. So you can see where we've kind of trimmed a little bit here and there. Treks. Adventure bikes, failure bikes. We come in off E Highway and come back up through here and came in this way and then parked up there. That cable wasn't there.
No, really?
Somebody put that cable up the next morning and it was none of us.
Yeah, that is weird.
And my brother owns this property.
Oh, wow. They're like, stay off your land.
Yeah.
So this is called Big Rock.
Yeah. There's a tree I wanted to show you too.
This is all granite.
Yeah.
Pink granite, yeah.
Oh.
Ooh, very cool. Do you guys have timber rattlers around here?
Yes.
Really?
I'm gonna get a shot of you. That way I can get you for your, I'll give it to you. That way you got something for you.
Yeah, you don't want to look at it. I'm too ugly to look at. It'll break your camera. It'll look like your phone.
And my brother owns all this, all the way down to the bridge. Where's that pine tree at?
This is cool. Do you come out here and fish?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Oh yeah.
Any success stories? Yeah.
Oh yeah. You can come out here. We usually do it every year. We'll come in here and fish and get enough to feed a whole party of people fish fry.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
The perch are good size. Almost all the bass are keepers.
Yeah.
You get some catfish in there. There's flathead, channel, and blue cat in here.
Dude, we have to camp here.
What's this?
Yeah.
That could be from flood. But I wanted to show you this tree. I don't know about that metal though, because you'd think I'd just sink straight to the bottom.
Right. Yeah, that is weird.
So, lost this tree right here. See all the scrape marks on the top of it?
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah, I see that. You think it got hit by lightning?
I think so, but I don't know.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's like that all the way to the bottom.
Yeah.
To me, it almost looks like claws. You know, like a foot,
Oh, yeah.
foot, but I got a pretty good imagination.
Wow, that is weird. No, because if it was lightning, it'd be just one solid streak. But here you see it stop.
You know, like
And
the
then it
start of a foot,
continues.
footprint. And all the limbs on this side of the tree have been broken off.
Yeah. Yeah, that is weird.
See, we're that close to the road. Road's right here.
Yeah.
It's not real wide.
Yeah, that's kind of wild.
Pine tree.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a crazy game trail right here. You can get through here. Remember, those are me, so we're not walking through here going, knock! Yeah, right here. Just check out that game trail.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Been used for years, and I think it gets a little. I think if you stand just right, you can see. Maybe not. It goes down through there, and it starts to open back up again. I usually follow this game trail when I'm mushroom hunting.
Yeah.
It starts to open back up. Up there above the sea. They're not there no more.
Okay. But this is the camper that you found those handprints on?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, if you just send me the video.
That's human there.
Yeah.
Look, this window's open.
Okay. Yeah. What? Squatch time.
Squatch time?
Really start listening now. Like I said, I have faith that they're going to be out tonight. I like the way Joe does it. He doesn't waste any time. He'll get his gear set up and he's all ready.
Oh, yeah.
Man, that fire's cracking. There we go. I aim it this way. It's not so bad.
Yeah.
It's like they don't catch much sound behind it. But like in front of it, you can really hear it. It's crazy.
All right, I hope you guys enjoyed their experiences and encounters. And like I said, this is the same area that I have been doing research for the past year at my friend Bill's place. So when I heard these things, I knew that there was something going on and they were telling the truth because, like I said in the interview, from the moment I get there, activity just starts and pops off and it's hard to get everything ready. And I've never been at a place like that where you can literally get out of your car and immediately start experiencing Bigfoot activity. So after this, we are heading down the road to his neighbor Jim's place, where they have had a multitude of Bigfoot encounters and experiences. It's a really cool story, and there's a lot going on there. For those who follow the channel and watch the videos, I always said from the very beginning that there are strange sounds coming from this forest that no animal in the wildlife kingdom can make or produce. It was really nice to meet people from the same area experiencing the same activity. Adam hopes to one day capture some type of evidence of these Sasquatch creatures. His friends, family, and neighbors are also very supportive, and they have all had experiences of their own. Be sure to stay tuned to hear the rest of these stories that are all connected.